The avoidant is having a realization that's shaking their entire world. After all the distance, all the withdrawal, all the time spent convincing themselves they don't need anyone, they're confronting a truth they can't deny anymore. They only want you. Not someone like you. Not anyone who could offer what you offered. You specifically. This isn't about you being convenient or available. This is about you being irreplaceable in ways the avoidant is only now beginning to understand. They've tried moving on. They've attempted to find connection elsewhere. They've pursued new people, revisited old options, thrown themselves into casual situations, hoping to prove to themselves that connection is connection and anyone will do. But every attempt has failed because nobody is you. The avoidant is stuck in the painful recognition that their heart, despite all their defenses, chose you specifically and won't accept a substitute. This realization is devastating because it means admitting need, acknowledging attachment, and confronting that they threw away something irreplaceable because they were too scared to accept it when they had it. The avoidant spent so long believing they were above attachment, that they could take or leave any relationship, that their independence meant they'd always have options. But the truth destroying that belief is simple and undeniable. They only want you, and everything else feels like settling for less than what they actually need. The unsuccessful replacement attempts. The avoidant has been trying to replace you and failing spectacularly at every turn. They've dated new people who check all the boxes on paper but feel empty in practice. They've returned to old connections hoping familiarity would create comfort. But those relationships feel even more hollow now that the avoidant knows what real connection feels like with you. They've tried casual encounters, thinking physical attraction would be enough, but it's not. Every person they meet is measured against you, and every person falls short in ways that are impossible to ignore. Not because those people are inadequate or lacking in their own right, but because they're not you. The avoidant is learning the hard way that you can't replace someone who touched your soul just by finding someone who fits a similar demographic or shares similar interests or looks good on paper. The failed replacement attempts are teaching the avoidant that what they had with you wasn't generic relationship comfort. It was specific to your energy, your understanding, your particular way of seeing them and holding space for them without trying to change them. Subscribe for insights into attachment psychology that reveal what's really happening beneath these confusing dynamics. The new person might be patient, but not in the way you were patient with their patterns. They might be understanding, but not with your particular depth of insight into their wounds. They might care, but not with the quality of care you offered that balanced accountability and compassion. The avoidant is discovering that the things they took for granted with you, the things they assumed anyone could provide if they just cared enough, were actually unique to you. Your specific combination of qualities, your individual essence, the particular way you loved them cannot be found in someone else no matter how hard they search. The replacement attempts also reveal to the avoidant that they're not actually looking for connection. They're looking for you. When they meet someone new, they're subconsciously comparing everything to how it was with you. They want to feel what they felt with you. They want the ease you created. They want the understanding you provided. But they want these things to come from you specifically, and trying to get them from someone else feels like drinking water when you're craving a specific wine. It might quench basic thirst, but it's not what you actually want. The avoidant is realizing they don't just want relationship in the abstract, they want you in the specific. The unique understanding recognition. The avoidant is confronting that you understood them in ways no one else has or possibly can. You saw through their defenses without being fooled by them. You recognized their patterns without being controlled by them. You understood where their wounds came from without enabling them. This level of understanding isn't something the avoidant can find easily because it required your specific combination of empathy, insight, patience, and personal growth. Most people don't have the capacity to understand an avoidant the way you understood them. They either take the avoidant's behavior personally and react with hurt, or they don't see the patterns clearly enough to even name them. The unique understanding means the avoidant felt truly known by you, and being known at that depth creates a bond that cannot be replicated with someone who doesn't see them as clearly. The avoidant is trying to connect with new people and having to explain themselves constantly. They have to justify their need for space, defend their patterns, manage other people's reactions to their withdrawal. But with you, they didn't have to do that work. You already understood. You saw their patterns for what they were, protective mechanisms developed in childhood that no longer serve them but persist because they're familiar. This understanding allowed the avoidant to relax in ways they can't relax with anyone else. The recognition of your unique understanding also includes the avoidant realizing you understood them better than they understand themselves. You could predict their patterns before they ran them. You could name their fears before they consciously felt them. You held a mirror that showed them their own psychology with clarity they couldn't access alone. This level of being seen and understood is rare to the point of being nearly impossible to find. The avoidant took it for granted when they had it, assuming anyone who cared enough could understand them that deeply. But they're learning that understanding at that level requires a specific combination of emotional intelligence, psychological insight, and genuine care that you possessed, and most people simply don't. The energy match irreplaceability. The avoidant is discovering that the energy match between you was unique and cannot be recreated with someone else. Energy match isn't about compatibility checklists or shared interests. It's about the way two people's nervous systems sync, the way their emotional rhythms complement each other, the way their energies create a specific frequency together. You and the avoidant had an energy match that felt like home even when it was uncomfortable. The avoidant is trying to find that feeling with others and realizing it's not something you can manufacture through effort or intention. It either exists or it doesn't, and it existed with you in a way it doesn't exist with anyone else. The energy match included the specific balance between pursuit and space that you naturally created. You pursued when the avoidant needed to feel wanted, but you gave space when the avoidant needed to feel safe. This balance wasn't something you consciously calculated. It came from your own internal rhythm, naturally complementing theirs. The avoidant is meeting people who pursue too hard or not enough, who are too available or too distant, who create anxiety instead of the productive tension that allows growth. The sweet spot you occupied naturally is proving impossible for the avoidant to find elsewhere. The irreplaceability of energy match also means the avoidant felt something with you they've never felt with anyone else, simultaneously challenged and accepted. Your energy pushed them toward growth while also holding space for where they were. This paradoxical combination is what creates the possibility for transformation. The avoidant needed someone strong enough to not be destabilized by their patterns, but soft enough to not shame them for having patterns. You were that combination naturally. Others are either too rigid, creating shame that makes the avoidant's defenses stronger, or too accommodating, allowing the avoidant to stay stuck without growth pressure. The avoidant is realizing that your specific energy was the exact thing they needed for healing, and that energy cannot be found in someone else. The future projection reality. The avoidant is recognizing that when they imagine their future, you're in it. Not consciously necessarily, but on some deep level they cannot control. When they think about who they want to build a life with, it's you. When they imagine being vulnerable, it's with you. When they picture themselves finally capable of sustaining intimacy, you're the person they want to offer it to. This future projection reveals that their attachment to you goes beyond present circumstances. Their psyche has already chosen you as the person they want to do life with, and no amount of conscious resistance changes that unconscious choice. The future reality includes the avoidant recognizing they don't want to experience life's important moments without you. When something good happens, they want to tell you. When something difficult occurs, they want your support. When they imagine holidays, milestones, or achievements, they want you there. The avoidant has tried to imagine a future without you, and it feels empty, incomplete, wrong. Their nervous system has bonded to you in ways that make a future without you feel like deprivation rather than freedom. This recognition is terrifying because it means accepting that they need you specifically, not just someone to fill a role. The future projection also includes the avoidant understanding that they don't want to become their best self for someone else. If they're going to do the work to heal their attachment patterns, develop capacity for intimacy, and become someone capable of sustaining healthy relationship, they want to offer that healed self to you. The avoidant is realizing that the motivation for change isn't abstract self-improvement. It's the specific desire to be worthy of you, to be capable of receiving what you offered, to show up for you in the ways you deserved. This recognition reveals that you're not just a person they dated. You're the person who awakened their desire to become better, and that awakening cannot be transferred to someone else. The comfort they cannot find elsewhere. The avoidant is searching for the specific comfort they felt with you, and discovering it doesn't exist with anyone else. This wasn't just physical comfort or the ease of familiarity, though those were present. This was soul-level comfort, the feeling of being home, the sense that they could exhale and be themselves without performance or defense. The avoidant felt safe with you in ways they've never felt safe, and they took that safety for granted until they lost it. Now they're trying desperately to find that feeling again, and learning that it's not a feeling that can be recreated through similar circumstances or compatible partners. It was specific to you and the space you created for them. The comfort included being able to be silent together without the silence being awkward, being able to share space without the need to perform or entertain, being able to be in bad moods or struggle with patterns without fear of abandonment or judgment. The avoidant could be their whole complicated self with you, and that permission to be fully human without punishment created profound comfort. They're trying to be themselves with new people and finding that others either don't accept the full range of who they are, or they accept it, but without the specific quality of acceptance you offered. The difference is felt, even if it can't be fully articulated. The comfort they cannot find also includes the specific way you made them feel seen and valued despite their limitations. You saw their patterns and still saw their worth. You recognized their struggles and still believed in their capacity for growth. This combination of clear-sighted recognition and unwavering belief in their potential created a foundation of security the avoidant has never found elsewhere. Others either don't see the avoidance patterns clearly enough to call them out, which feels enabling and doesn't create growth pressure, or they see the patterns and judge them, which activates shame and makes the avoidance defenses stronger. You occupied a middle space of seeing clearly while maintaining compassion, and that space is where the avoidant felt most comfortable being honest about their struggles. The physical chemistry comparison. The avoidant is realizing that even the physical chemistry they shared with you was unique and specific. They've tried to connect physically with others and found that attraction without deeper connection feels empty. The physical chemistry with you wasn't just about physical attraction, though that was present. It was about the way your energies met on every level, including the physical. The way you touched them felt different because it carried your specific energy, your understanding of them, your care for them. The avoidant is discovering that physical intimacy with someone who doesn't know them deeply feels mechanical by comparison. The chemistry comparison includes the avoidant recognizing that desire with you contained emotional and spiritual dimensions that desire with others lacks. When they were physical with you, it felt like more than bodies meeting. It felt like souls connecting through physical form. The avoidant can have sex with other people, but it doesn't satisfy the deeper hunger that being with you satisfied. They're learning that they don't just want physical connection. They want the specific experience of being intimately connected with you, where physical, emotional, and spiritual dimensions merge into something transcendent. The physical chemistry also revealed itself in the way the avoidant felt after being intimate with you versus with others. With you, physical intimacy increased their desire for emotional closeness rather than triggering avoidant withdrawal. Something about the way you were together physically made vulnerability feel safer. The avoidant is having physical experiences with others and finding that instead of creating closeness, it triggers their usual patterns of withdrawal. The chemistry with you was healing in ways chemistry with others is not, and this reveals that what they shared with you physically was as irreplaceable as what they shared emotionally. The regret that clarifies truth. The avoidance regret about losing you is teaching them that you're specifically what they want. Regret has a way of clarifying true desire by showing what you miss when it's gone. The avoidant isn't just sad about being alone or nostalgic about having a relationship. They have specific, painful longing for you. They miss your voice, your laugh, your way of seeing the world. They miss the specific conversations you had, the specific way you challenged them, the specific comfort of your presence. This specificity of longing proves their attachment isn't to the idea of relationship. It's to the reality of you. The clarifying regret includes the avoidant recognizing they made the biggest mistake of their life by letting you go. Not because you were their only option, but because you were their best option, possibly their only real option for the kind of love that could heal them. The avoidant is confronting that they had access to exactly what they needed and they rejected it because they were too afraid to receive it. This recognition of their own role in losing something precious and irreplaceable forces them to acknowledge that you weren't the problem. Their inability to accept what you offered was the problem. The regret clarifies truth by showing the avoidant that their patterns of pushing away aren't protecting them from pain. They're creating it. The pain of being alone without you is worse than the vulnerability of being close to you ever was. The avoidant avoided the discomfort of intimacy only to experience the agony of loss and knowing they caused that loss through their own choices. This comparison between the discomfort they avoided and the pain they're experiencing reveals that vulnerability with you was the better choice, and this revelation makes them want you specifically because you're the person with whom vulnerability felt most possible. The identity shift recognition. The avoidant is recognizing that being with you changed who they are on a fundamental level. You didn't just occupy space in their life. You shifted their identity, awakened parts of them that had been dormant, challenged beliefs they'd held about themselves and relationships. The avoidant cannot return to who they were before you because you changed them, and this change makes them want you even more. They're trying to connect with others while carrying the expanded version of themselves that knowing you created, and that expanded self only wants to connect with you. The identity shift includes the avoidant recognizing they became a better person because of you. Not because you tried to change them, but because your presence inspired growth in them. They became more self-aware because you held up mirrors. They became more honest because you made it safe to be authentic. They became more capable of feeling because you demonstrated that feelings don't destroy you. The avoidant is trying to be this better version of themselves with new people, but that better version was created in relationship with you and wants to be expressed with you. The recognition also includes understanding that you awakened desire for intimacy in the avoidant that didn't exist before you. Before you, the avoidant was content with surface connection and maintained distance, but you showed them what depth feels like, and now depth is what they want. The problem is, they want that depth with you specifically because you're the one who awakened their capacity for it. The avoidant is trying to go deep with others, but it feels like forcing something that flowed naturally with you. They only want you because you're the person who showed them what they actually want from relationship, and that awakening cannot be separated from you.